So Luke did a great job at kind of the 50,000 foot level. You guys need to be telling stories. In my work with the center, I know that there's so many great stories to tell. And so what I wanted to do was take his recommendation of, hey, let's tell these stories and say, okay, if you guys do nothing else, here are 5 places that you should be telling those stories. So I'd like to get a little gauge on the room. Who in here, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, sorry. Who in here is blogging? Just a couple hands. Great. Using social media? Okay. E-newsletters? Okay. Offering free offers through your center? Just a couple hands. Okay. And then what about using forms on your website to capture information from people? Okay, good. Okay, so some ups and downs there. I don't know if you guys looked around the room. So from what I understand in my work with the center and talking with some other nonprofits is that these are really the 3 main challenges for nonprofits. You really have limited marketing budget and resources. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. You have an aging donor base. Those people who are giving you all that money are getting older, and so you need to find some younger people to start filling that funnel. And there's a need to increase that online fundraising. That's where things are going to come from moving forward. So everybody on board with those? Are there any other main marketing challenges that I'm missing? Good. Okay, good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about how I think you guys can counter those challenges. I pulled this graphic. Is anybody familiar with HubSpot? Couple hands, okay. HubSpot is a software that actually gets built into websites to track online activity. I went to a conference in Boston last year and sat in on a nonprofit marketing session, and they used this, and I thought this was really powerful. It's kind of like the nonprofit sales cycle. So you start off over here with your strangers. These are people who have nothing to do with your organization right now, complete strangers. You want to attract those people and make them visitors. Once they're visitors, you want to connect with them to make them supporters. You want to engage those supporters to make them donors. And then you want to inspire those donors to continue to be advocates for your mission. I thought that was a really powerful way to think about the different steps of the sales process. In the business world, that would be the sales process. It would be maybe the donor process for you. But I really like that, and I thought that I should share that. So keep that in mind as we talk through some of this, because I'm going to say that you should be providing different offers and different content and different stories for people at different steps so that you can grab their attention and then start to move them down that line. So the first thing is blogging. The show of hands, there was just a few people here in the room that do it. Why aren't you blogging? Or have you thought about blogging? Anybody? Time. Okay. Okay, good. I get that a lot, and I totally get it. But I also think that there's some ways that you can counter that issue. A blog is a great place to tell your story. You have complete control over it. And I think when people hear blogging, you still kind of get that, hey, I'm a foodie, and I'm going to take pictures of my food, and I'm going to tell everybody what I'm doing at every point of every day. Do you guys get that impression still? It's really transitioning into something different now, where this is your voice. This is your main platform to tell your story. You can write daily, you can write multiple times a day, you can write once a week. I think that nonprofits should at least be writing once a week. And if you sat down and brainstormed for 30 minutes, you could probably come up with content that already exists in your organization that you could use to fill up your blog schedule for the next 3 months. Annual fun stories, success stories that you've had, testimonials. Those are all stories that you can be telling on your blog that already exist. So, and there's really no wrong way of doing it as long as you keep in mind the things that Luke was talking about. My favorite thing that you said was the hero is them, not you. And so I think that's a great thing to keep in mind as you're telling that. Another thing that blogging does, is it helps with your search engine optimization. So for your website and your blog, you're putting content out there that's talking about your organization and the things that you do. So if someone goes to Google and they type in hearing aids in Cleveland, we want the center to come up for that, right? But if we're not updating our website regularly and putting content out there that talks about that, then Google doesn't think that we're a quality website that should come up for that search term. So the more you put stuff out there, the more you tell Google you're a quality site and you should be coming up for those things. So that's one benefit of blogging outside of just a great place to tell your story. So some best practices here. I think you should be doing it weekly. I know that sounds like a lot, but it really should be just a short little snippet, a short little story. I have on here an editorial calendar. This is something that we do with all of our clients. Sit down at the beginning of it and you come up with, do it quarterly. Like I said, you could sit down right now, you could probably come up with a lot of content that already exists that you're not gonna have to think very hard about. Photos and videos, great things to put into play here, and calls to action. I'm a big proponent of you tell your story and then you tell people how they can help. You don't want to just put that out there and just push, push, push. You want to try to push and then pull a little bit too. So put something in there that you're asking, hey, I'm going to tell a great story about this hearing aid that we use at the center that we think is great. And at the bottom of it, I'm going to say, click here to download the spec sheet or something that you're going to get, so that you're asking them to just take one step further. A lot of you probably, I'm sorry, yes? The question is, do you write your blogs differently than your Facebook posts, and can they feed into your Facebook posts? I think that they should be a little bit more expanded than a Facebook post would be, so that it's a place where you can tell a little bit longer of a story. The Facebook post that I would put from that blog would be a little summary with a link to the full blog post so that you're driving people back to your site or your blog. So a lot of that you probably can already do through your website, depending on what platform you're on. And if you don't have something, WordPress is a content management system that's very, very easy to use, and it's completely free. Little shameless plug, if you go to clevelandbigwheelrelay.com, the only thing that I bought on that site is the URL. Everything else on there is completely free. So you can build a blog and a website that is virtually free. You might need to play around with it. It took me a long time to even just get it up to where it is right now, but it is something that you can get up and running for very inexpensively. And then some content ideas. We've already talked about past content. I think that's great. And then new content. Here's where I think people get confused about blogging and the time commitment to it. Just because you have one marketing person, or maybe you don't have a marketing person, doesn't mean that that one person is responsible for doing all of the writing. Split it up. If you have an audiology department, let's have one person from that department write one story, why they're involved, how they like helping the center. And then the next week, get a story from the executive director about how he got involved in what he's doing. So you can spread that wealth out among everybody so that maybe you're not actually writing a blog every week. You as a person are only writing a blog once every 6 months, depending on how many people you get involved. So it really spreads that responsibility out among a lot of people. So I have here, volunteers and staff, those impacted by the mission, the executive team, donors, board members, fundraisers, event participants. You can ask for stories from a lot of people. And I think that, as long as you have one champion that's kind of gating that content and then posting it, I think that you'll be happy with getting that help from other people. Okay, so social media. Anybody have questions on blogging before I move forward? Good, okay. So social media, I think everybody knows what social media is. Show of hands, most people in the room are doing it, so that's great. I think this is an awesome place to share your stories because I feel like people are very receptive to hearing stories on social media. I think this is a great place to do it. I think you should be telling a story on Facebook or sharing something at least once a week. Who here posts every day? Couple times a week. Once a week? Sporadically? Okay. I think in everything that you do, you should try to just get it on a calendar and do it regularly. I think that's the one thing that if you don't get in the habit of doing something weekly or twice a week or something like that, then you're going to fall off. So I think if you get to the calendar of doing something like that, you'll be better off. Here you can share your original stories that you put on your blog. You can share other stories of interest that affect your mission. And then obviously share as many photos and videos as you want. People expect to see those things here, and they love to see them. Some best practices for social media. I like to say, if you don't have time, pick one medium and do it well. So if you want to be on Facebook, great. Let's just be a champ. Let's be a rock star at Facebook, and let's not spend our time on Twitter. Because if you don't have time for Facebook and Twitter, you don't have time for Twitter. I feel like Twitter is somewhere where you have to be there, you have to be listening, you have to be interacting with people. So it's my personal opinion that if you're not going to be there and really be a Twitterite, then you shouldn't be there. Really do what you do well. If you do videos well, be on YouTube. If you do Facebook well, let's do Facebook. Like I said earlier, when you're sharing your stories, drive that traffic back to your website. That's where you have all that great information. Either drive to your website, drive to your blog where the rest of the stories are. I think you should just always be driving people back. Something that I have here, Bitly's. Has anybody heard of Bitly? It's a link shortener. When people are on Facebook, they don't want to see those long, drawn-out links. So if you use Bitly, it'll just shorten that link up. It'll make your post smaller and a little bit neater. And then actually ask people to like, share, and comment on your posts. It's okay to do that, and it encourages them to do it. We're going to be at the CCA Awards tonight for the Cleveland Big Wheel Relay. Hope we win. Like us to show your support. That doesn't seem self-serving or anything. I think that's great. Show us your support. So. Most common mediums, I think, are Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. And like I said, the free link shortener is Bitly. So there's some tools that you guys can help. Yes?
What are you saying nonprofits using LinkedIn?
Nonprofits using LinkedIn. I think that the company pages that are there, I think that if nothing else, you should have a company page. I think people are starting to look for companies there. And then the other thing is I just feel like it's okay to be sold on LinkedIn, in my opinion. I feel like that's okay for them. So if you're asking people to donate to something, if you're asking people to get a free assessment or get a tour of your facilities, I feel like it's actually very, very accepted to do all of those things there. It's kind of like people expect to be sold on LinkedIn thing. So I don't know, I feel like those messages, as long as they're the right types of things, those things can be shared there. Yes?
Can you speak to post scheduling tools? We just had these this week in-house and the efficacy, things like that.
Yeah. How's it working for you?
Well, we're in beta now, and I think we're going to upgrade to a version. We've just been using this Twitter application, but we haven't really started with Facebook because now Facebook has a post scheduler embedded with the system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is just a personal thing. I like being able to control the individual messages that go out to each medium. So I don't like pushing one message out that goes to multiple because I want my Twitter message to sound different than my Facebook message. And when I'm on Facebook, I want to share one picture. That's going to be nice and big so that people can see it because they interact better with it when it's like that. So I'm not, just being honest, I'm not a great person to speak to those because to me, I haven't used them because I like to be in complete control. I'm a control freak. In complete control of those different messages.
You can select which mediums you want to send a lot of. You have to send it out on all three. If you've got your LinkedIn and your Facebook and your Twitter all linked.
Mm-hmm.
If you just want to put it on Twitter, you can just put it on
Okay.
Twitter. So
Mm-hmm.
you're not tied into that.
I need to look into that more. So here are a couple samples that I put up on my event page. Like I said, I think that people interact better with one big photo. So if you were to put 5 pictures up on Facebook, you know how it's going to show in like a little photo album and you're going to see a bunch of little pictures? People can like the whole album. We've seen, and even at the HubSpot conference this year, the best practices, they said that sharing one big photo like this, people interact with that much better. So that's just a little something that you guys can take back. And I've seen it even just in my work with running the page for new partners. E-newsletters. I think there was decent hands up in the air for e-newsletters. I think this is one place where you really are able to push that good story, not in a bad way, and drive that traffic back to your website and blog. And the great thing here is, again, you get to control when and how you do it. So I think that, again, this is kind of like bare necessities. I think you guys should be doing it at least once a month, just to stay top of mind. It's brand awareness. Another place to share your original blogs and stories, other articles of interest that affect your mission, event invitations, maybe some service or product features if you have those at your organization. And I like to really say that you should focus on one thing that you want people to do. So if you really want them to donate to your annual fund, then that's your one call to action for this e-newsletter. If you really want them to come to your annual benefit, then let's do that. Just to make it so that you're only asking them to do one thing, because people get a little ADD if you ask them to do too many things at once. Some best practices here. This isn't a place to share your entire story. This is a place to share a snippet of your story with a link to send them back to your website to get the whole one. Another thing, make sure that you're using mobile-friendly templates. And I put in here, I know some people talked about Constant Contact earlier. I've used that. I think it's great. My tool of preference is MailChimp. I just think it's really easy to use, and they have a lot of templates that are already built in that are mobile-friendly. So, and it's completely free up to 2,000 users. So depending on the size of your nonprofit, or if you're just getting started, it might be a good place to start. It is pretty inexpensive moving up from there. And I think that the design of your e-newsletter should be in line with your brand. So here's something that I did for the center. And so even though it's about a relay race, it still has the brand look and feel for the center. Any questions on e-newsletters? Yeah. Yeah. This will be available online afterwards, Tanya said, so.
Subject line.
Subject lines, yes. Depending on what you're doing, I'm actually a pretty big fan of. Have you guys seen recently? You've probably noticed that there's little brackets that ask people to do something like register now, and then they have the rest of the message. I like those because I think you're telling people what you want them to do, and then you're giving them the colorful message. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yes, in the subject line, or new announcement, and then the rest of the subject line. So I like those because I feel like it's kind of like a soft, hey, I'm telling you what you're getting, and then you get the nice, pretty colorful message at the end of it. I like to be direct with people. I like to tell them what I'm trying to do, or ask them exactly what I want them to do. In doing it like that, I feel like you still get to do that, and then also put the good, like, story type message after it. Yeah.
I work at a large organization that has sort of a for-profit component to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have their own marketing initiatives that are driven with e-newsletters and the Facebook page. So how do you, as a development department, have your own set of branding and coordinate your efforts so that people aren't getting multiple newsletters with sort of a different focus to them? They have their own initiatives that they want to promote through the general Facebook page. How do you use the advancement efforts to sort of coordinate into that when you don't have control over your full company's e-newsletter, your full company's Facebook page, that kind of thing?
I'd probably need to understand how the organization runs a little bit better to answer that very intelligently. It sounds like you guys probably just need to have a conversation. I mean, I don't know if you can speak any more to this, but I feel like you guys probably just need to get on the same page. Maybe there needs to be a strategic conversation that happens to make sure that you guys are really keeping that brand message in line with both parts of the organization. What's the organization?
It's senior living.
Senior living, okay. Yeah, I feel like if you don't want to pick up and run with the way that they're doing things, then you probably need to have a conversation and move forward together. That would be my recommendations. Luke, you want to speak to that?
Real quick, guys, it's, oftentimes, even in the for-profit world, there's sub-brands underneath a masterhead brand, right? And so that's a branding issue of how does that master brand sort of be driving traffic to you in an appropriate way, and that you're fitting into that big picture as well. So, and is absolutely right in that there needs to be a conversation so that you're both pulling in the same direction. You may have different core needs and end results, but the organization as a whole all is pulling in the same direction.
Yes.
Speak to that a little bit. We recently did something similar. We created a donor e-newsletter. We have an institutional e-newsletter that goes out every month, but I wanted to focus on educating donors on how to give and tell an impact story and promote our planned giving program. There's some key things I want to do to keep in front of our donors, and so a few strategies. My development committee, our board members, got buy-in there from that cohort of support. Collaborated with our marketing department to make sure that the template of the newsletter represents the brand standards of the organization, but it doesn't look exactly like the institutional newsletter that goes out on a monthly basis. And making the case about the importance of a direct kind of a communication with donors and donor-specific content, that if you put it into the institutional newsletter, it would make it unwieldy, and the focus would vary from the best practice as well. So those are the strategies that we
Great, thanks, guys. I have just a few more minutes, so I need to kind of fly through these next two things. Like I said, these will be up on the website. Tanya will make sure that you guys have access to this, and my contact information will be on that, so if anybody wants to get in touch with me, you can. So one of the last things I want to talk about is premium offers. Everybody out there has something to offer, and these are things that you provide that entice people to interact with you. So remember that little graph that I showed earlier about moving people down the sales process, donor process? These are ways that you kind of like get them to jump in and then start to move them down. So what I'd do is I'd make a list of everything that your organization can offer. Maybe it is your annual report. Maybe it is a tour of your facilities if you have a really cool facilities. Maybe it is, I think I have some ideas here. A free hearing assessment, or sign up for sign language classes, or something like that that you guys have. Make a list of everything, and keep in mind, if you segment it out by personas and try to see what you want those people to do at different steps of the sales process, then you can come up with different offers. These are important because this is how you get people to jump in. If you just have a website out there that's a brochure that just says what you do and doesn't actually ask them to take action and interact with you, then they're not going to. They're not going to go out of their way. So you need to put things out there that entice them to interact with you. And then the way that you do that is through call to action buttons. You can do it through copy, but I think that it's more effective by using images. And so I provided a few here. I grabbed these from HubSpot, and these ones are actually made in PowerPoint. So this bit.ly link that's up here goes to that blog. Again, it'll be online. But if you guys don't have good graphic design capabilities in-house, you can do these things in PowerPoint. And then these are things that you can drop into the copy of your website, in your blog, in your e-newsletter, all over the place, just to encourage people to interact with you. Okay, and the last thing is, so once they click on that call to action button, where do they go? They should go to a form or a landing page or something that allows you to capture their contact information. And then you get to decide what you do with it from there, whether it's right to put them on any newsletter list, or if it's an assessment, then you need to give it to that department head to make sure that they follow up with them to schedule an assessment. So these are the things. This is the way that you actually gather the contact information from the people who are on your site. It seemed like there was a few people who were doing this in the crowd. That's good. My guess is if you're not using offers, then you probably have limited forms. If you start using offers, you're going to have more forms, and that's really how you're going to start to see get the ball rolling with your website. A couple best practices. I apologize, I'm moving kind of quickly here. Only ask for the information that you need. People don't want to fill out a form that's 15 questions long. If a name, an email address, and a company is enough, then that's great. I've actually heard that the second you throw a phone number on there, that discourages people from filling it out. So if you don't need their phone number, don't ask for it. If you use WordPress for your website or some of the other common CMS systems, they have forms built in. If not, you can look up Wufoo. It's a form tool. We use it a lot, and I really like it. I think you get one form for free, and then after that you have to pay about $15 a month, but they're very easy to use. It provides some code that you can drop into your website, and it's really good. And so the other thing that I want to talk about is we've done this at the firm, and we've also put it into all of our clients' websites, is just putting a contact form at the bottom of every single page on your site. And I know that's kind of new, but you would not believe the uptick in contact requests that we've gotten because of it. So, you know, somebody's reading a page about one of your services, and they want to fill it out, or they think they have a question. If there's a form right there, they don't even have to click on another button. It's already there that they get to ask you that question. And then this is an example of a landing page for an ebook. So, you know, we wrote something that was about driving more leads with an effective inbound marketing campaign, gave a little summary of the ebook with a form on the right. So in order for them to get the ebook, they have to fill out that form, and then we get their information. And one thing that I want to talk about on the forms is adding one qualifying question. So if, I always go back to the center. If we want them to have a free hearing screening, well, maybe we want to ask a question about, is this screening for you or your child? That way, when you follow up with them, you know a little bit about the person. Maybe you have a different child specialist or an adult specialist, so you want to know who to direct that lead to. So just including one easy qualifying question on all your forms will help you in that follow-up process.
Question.
Yeah?
Do you have a button that says questions that goes to the form?
Rephrase your question for me.
Is your question, is that a button that you have that somebody clicks on to go to the form? Like a donate button?
Yeah, so if a donate button is likely going to go to an online donation page, that's going to be a form already.
So does your question, is that also a button that goes to your form that you
I
want?
think you were saying your form was built right into the bottom of each page, so it's right there. Someone doesn't click on it to launch the form, it's actually in the
Yeah,
page.
it's embedded in the page. The way that,
Every page?
So that pops up every time you
Is it
open
a pop-up?
a page.
it's not a pop-up, I'm sorry. It's actually coded into the bottom of the page. So after your services, it'll be way down at the bottom, so it's really not intrusive at all. If they don't scroll all the way down, they won't even see it. But we've just really seen that we've gotten a lot more contact requests because they're on there.
Do you have a website that you can give as an example
Sure.
of that so we can see it?
Sure. It's actually, if you go to skodaminotti.com, all of our service pages have a form at the bottom of it. They're all going to look similar to what you see over on the left, but that might be a little deceiving because it's popped out. But it's SKODAMINOTTI. Okay. Last thing is, if you guys want to see any of the examples of any of the things I talked about, assessments, offers, ebooks, you can go to the Skoda Minotti website. We do it for ourselves, we do it for clients. Our blog, we have a very active blogging team, so you can go there and see that. The other place that I would direct you is HubSpot. They put out a lot of great content for nonprofits, and so if you guys go there, you can subscribe to their blog, start getting that nonprofit content, and it's really, really helpful.